Night settles over the great harbor of Alexandria, and the city seems to breathe out after a day of brilliance. You stand on the Canopic Way, the grand avenue that runs straight as reason itself from the sea to the lake. Columns of white marble gleam like vertebrae in the dusk, their shadows stretching across paving stones, polished smooth by centuries of sandals and wheels. Salt rides the air, mingled with the smoke of cooking fires and the faint sweetness of myrrh from shrines. Behind you, the sea sighs against the breakwater of the Heptastadion, that man-made causeway binding the island of Pharos to the mainland. You can hear the rhythm of waves against the stone's 7 stadia long, nearly a mile of stone spine dividing the twin harbors. On the horizon rises the lighthouse of Pharos, one of the 7 wonders, its mirrors still catching the last bruised gold of sunset. At its summit, a flame wavers behind bronze shutters, beginning its vigil for the night. The streets of the royal quarter are quiet now. Merchants have shuttered their stalls. The cries of fishmongers fade toward the wharves. A pair of Greek guards stroll by in bronze helmets, dulled by sand, their laughter soft, unhurried. A donkey's hooves clatter on stone, pulling a cart stacked with amphorae of Nile, wine for tomorrow's symposiums. You walk slowly eastward, past courtyards where fig trees rustle. Light spills from high windows of villas where scribes read aloud to patrons. Snatches of Homer, Plato, and new works written in Greek, yet tinged with Egyptian rhythm. The mingling of tongues drifts around you. Greek, Coptic, Latin, Hebrew, the city's own music of coexistence. Alexandria has always been a meeting of worlds. The Greek mind, the Egyptian soul, the Roman hand beginning to tighten around both. You pass a fountain of polished basalt carved with lotus petals. Water runs clear from the mouth of a lion. Children earlier in the day would have splashed here. Now the pool mirrors only torchlight. From a nearby courtyard comes the scent of baked barley bread cooling on clay shelves. The night sky above is immense, open to the Sinai Mountains to frame it, only stars spilling like dust across the dark. Sailors in the harbor orient themselves by those constellations, Canopus, low and bright in the south, and the familiar hunter Orion rising again over the eastern roofs. Somewhere, a ship's bell rings a slow, resonant note, marking the change of the watch. Farther inland, the streets climb gently toward the Rakotis district, the older Egyptian heart of the city. There the alleys are narrower, the houses humbler, built from limestone and brick rather than imported marble. Oil lamps hang from doorways shaped like small suns. Women sit outside weaving linen by moonlight, talking quietly about market prices, harvests, and births. A cat winds between your ankles, one of the thousands sacred to Bastet, sleek and fearless, ruler of the night streets. You pause before a shrine set into a wall, its niche holding a tiny bronze figure of Serapis, the god born of blending Greek Zeus and Egyptian Osiris combined. Someone has left a sprig of fresh basil beside a flame. The wax drips slowly, perfuming the air. For a moment, you think you can hear chanting from the Serapeum far above, carried faintly by the wind across the rooftops. Down by the shore again, the royal harbor glitters. The quays stretch wide, filled with merchant vessels from every corner of the known world: Rhodes, Cyrene, Rome, India. Their masts sway gently, rigging whispering like reeds. A few sailors still unload crates of papyrus rolls wrapped in linen, destined for the library's endless hunger for knowledge. You remember hearing how the librarians collect every scroll that enters the port. Ships are searched, works copied, sometimes seized for transcription. Even now, perhaps, in the deep hours, scribe's dip reads into ink made from soot and gum, preserving every fragment of thought before it vanishes into oblivion. The air cools, and the marble of the city releases the heat it stored through the day. You draw your robe closer, its linen soft with the smell of the sea. From somewhere near the palace quarter, music drifts, lyres, flutes, a singer's voice in ancient Greek. The melody carries a verse about Calliope, muse of epic poetry. It rises, then dissolves into the night like incense. You climb a flight of steps carved into the slope of the Bruchion, the grand district of learning and administration. From here, you can see nearly all of Alexandria. To the west, the dark line of Lake Moreotis. To the north, the gleaming Pharos and the curve of the seawall. Between them, a grid of streets laid out by the hand of Dinocrates. Alexander's architect straight, logical, perfect. No other city is so deliberate, so balanced between idea and matter. A breeze stirs. Palm fronds whisper against one another like turning pages. Somewhere below, a door closes. A dog barks once and is still. The scent of olive oil and charred cedar drifts upward from lamps in the courtyards. You make your way toward the Mausian, the Temple of the Muses, heart of the great library complex. Though the hour is late, you know that within its walls, scholars never truly sleep. They debate astronomy, medicine, mathematics. Some map the stars using bronze armillary spheres. Others trace the veins of plants by candlelight. Theirs is a devotion not of faith, but of curiosity. You pause at the entrance, where two statues guard the doorway, Aristotle and Homer, one carved in marble, the other in granite. Between them, the bronze doors bear inscriptions in Greek: Delta, Omega Rho, Omicron, Nu Tau, Omega, Nu Masoon, gift of the Muses. As you push the door gently, the hinges sigh. Warm lamplight spills across your hands. Inside, the air is thick with the perfume of papyrus, cedar oil, and ink. Rows of shelves stretch like corridors of memory. Scribes in linen robes bend over desks, their shadows long and liquid in the light. You hear the faint scratch of styluses, the crackle of wicks. No one speaks loudly. Every sound belongs to the rhythm of thought. You pass an alcove where a scholar has fallen asleep, his head resting on a scroll of Euclid's Elements. Beside him, a clay cup of wine, untouched, glows amber. You adjust the lamp wick so it won't burn the parchment tan. Instinctive kindness. The scholar does not stir. Up above, through open, clear-story windows, the night sky looks like another library, scrolls of stars rolled out for those who can read their patterns. Perhaps someone will, centuries from now, when these walls are dust. You breathe in the silence, heavy but peaceful, and feel the pulse of the city beneath your feet. The harbor, the homes, the sleeping cats, the scholars awake at their desks. Outside again, you walk toward the harbor steps. The lighthouse flame has strengthened. Its mirrored beams sweep slowly across the water, touching ships one by one. Every reflection ripples like a thought trying to stay afloat. You stand at the edge of the sea wall, hands resting on cool stone, and listen. The city breathes. The marble, the scrolls, the hearts within them all inhale and exhale together. It is a living mind, and tonight it dreams. Tomorrow it will still stand, though the smoke already waits beyond the horizon, unseen. But for now, the night belongs to you, to ink and salt, to silence and the turning of pages in the dark. The city exhales, and you with it weightless, timeless, drifting. You climb the steps toward the library as night gathers around you in velvet layers. The marble beneath your sandals still holds the warmth of the day, a faint echo of the sun that baked the city until evening. Above you, the entrance glows with the steady shimmer of oil lamps set in bronze sconces. Their flames lean gently toward the sea breeze, breathing with the rhythm of the city itself. The columns rise higher than your reach, smooth and pale against the dark. Carved ivy winds around their bases, and faint inscriptions honor the 9 muses whose names guard the doorway. You pause a moment before crossing the threshold. The sound of the harbor fades until only your heartbeat and the whisper of wind against stone remain. Inside the great portico, the air cools and thickens with the scent of papyrus and polished cedar. Every surface gleams with care. Scholars say the library houses hundreds of thousands of scrolls, though no one has counted them all. They are arranged by subject in tall wooden racks that reach upward like trees of knowledge. You move slowly past the first chamber where scribes work by lamplight. Each man and woman bends over a long wooden desk, a reed pen in hand, ink made from soot and gum in a shallow dish beside them. The sound of writing fills the room, soft and endless, as if the walls themselves were murmuring. Occasionally, a scholar rises to stretch or to consult a colleague on a difficult line of text. A boy carries a basket of newly copied scrolls. He passes you silently and places them in the care of the cataloger, who sits at a marble table covered with wax tablets. The cataloger makes a quick note in Greek, recording the author and the title. He speaks the words under his breath, treating each one as sacred. You wander between rows of niches holding statues of philosophers. There stands Plato with a scroll in his hand and a calm smile on his lips. Next to him is Democritus, his marble eyes turned upward as if he could see atoms moving through the air. You feel their presence as quiet companions, still engaged in thought, even in stone. Through an open doorway, a garden waits in moonlight. Palm trees sway gently, their shadows falling over benches where tired scholars sometimes sleep. Fountains murmur in the corners, and the scent of jasmine drifts across the courtyard. You walk beneath an arch and sit by one of the pools, watching the moon tremble on the surface of the water. A cat pads across the tiles and stops to drink from the edge of the fountain. Its reflection ripples beside yours, 2 shapes joined by the same soft light. From somewhere deep in the complex, a lyre plays a slow, meditative tune. The notes echo across the stone like drops of silver. You stand again and continue deeper into the library. Beyond the courtyard lies the Hall of Scholars, where the teachers of geometry, medicine, astronomy, and poetry gather. They speak in quiet voices, their tones low and deliberate. One traces a pattern of stars in the air with the tip of a stylus, describing the paths of unseen planets. Another bends over a dissected plant and records the shape of its veins. A mathematician draws a perfect circle with a bronze compass and nods in satisfaction. Knowledge lives here not as noise, but as breath, shared and renewed with every sentence. You move carefully among them, unwilling to disturb the fragile peace of concentration. At the far wall, you find the copyists who preserve every scroll that enters the city. They work under the supervision of the librarian, an old man with pale eyes and steady hands. He inspects each sheet of papyrus, holding it up to the light to judge its texture and alignment. When he smiles faintly, you see the devotion of someone who has given his whole life to the written word. The copyists sit shoulder to shoulder, their fingers are stained with ink, their faces calm and intent. Some translate works from Hebrew and Persian into Greek so that the knowledge of distant lands will live here too. Every language becomes part of the same long conversation that began with the first human mark on clay. You notice that the floor beneath their stools is scattered with trimmed papyrus edges. The scraps curl like dry leaves, whispering as you step past. Someone gathers them into a basket, for even the waste of the library is treated with care. Nothing is meaningless in this house of thought. The librarian greets you with a slow nod. He offers a seat near a window where you can see the glow of the Pharos far out on the water. He speaks softly about the catalogues and the scholars who built them, men who tried to arrange the entire world of knowledge in an order that made sense. He tells you how they divided the scrolls by subject, how every shelf is labeled by field, from mathematics to medicine to drama. You listen, lulled by his voice and the steady rhythm of the sea outside. He explains that the library is not just a building, but a living body, and that every reader adds another heartbeat to its pulse. You nod, though your eyes grow heavy. The lamplight wavers, turning the air golden. After a while, he stands and leads you to a smaller room lined with papyrus rolls tied in colored cords. Here, the rarest works are kept, copies of texts once thought lost. He lets you touch one carefully, the fibers smooth and cool under your fingertips. The ink smells faintly of honey and ash. You read the first line silently. It speaks of the sea, of memory, of time flowing backward in dreams. The words feel both ancient and alive, as if they recognize you. You close the scroll gently and hand it back to him. Outside, the night deepens. You hear distant gulls calling across the harbor and the rustle of the palms beyond the walls. The librarian extinguishes a few of the lamps, one by one, until only the faintest glow remains. He thanks you for visiting and reminds you that wisdom is a fire that must be carried carefully through darkness. You step into the corridor again. The air has cooled and the marble floor is slick with dew. Your footsteps echo softly between the pillars, joined by the slow breathing of a city that has not yet dreamed of loss. The stars beyond the open roof shine with the same clarity as the minds within these walls. You pause on the library's steps and look out across Alexandria. The Pharaoh sends its beam across the sea in measured intervals, touching every ship like a blessing. The city's streets gleam faintly under moonlight, a pattern of white and shadow. For a moment, you imagine you can see the flow of knowledge itself moving through those streets, alive and radiant. You take a slow breath, feeling the cool salt air fill your chest. Every inhalation seems to join the rhythm of the waves below. The night is deep and still. The lamps are few, and the library rests behind you like a great sleeping mind. You close your eyes and let the sound of the sea carry you toward quiet. You leave the library through a small archway that opens toward the eastern streets. The lamps along the wall burn low, and a faint gold dust of light drifts across the paving stones. Beyond the columns begins the Scholars' Quarter, a district where study fills every room and conversation never entirely stops. The homes here are modest but orderly. Each house has a small courtyard open to the night sky. Water jars rest on stone ledges to cool, and tables are covered with scrolls and measuring tools. Every surface seems to bear some trace of thought, a mark left by chalk or ink or calculation. A group of students gathers under a portico, their hands full of wax tablets. An older philosopher, in a simple linen robe, listens to them argue about Aristotle's writings on motion. Their voices rise and fall in Greek, clear and precise, carrying into the still air. The teacher gestures toward the harbor, using the stars as examples for his argument. Farther along the street, you see another doorway lit from within. Inside, a mathematician studies a brass sphere mounted on a frame. The instrument turns with careful precision, its rings representing the heavens. He adjusts it slightly, recording the positions of bright stars whose names were charted here long before Rome was born. On the next corner, a physician prepares salves in shallow bowls of alabaster. The smell of crushed herbs mixes with oil of cedar and myrtle. Shelves hold rolls of linen bandages and small amphorae of honey used to treat wounds. He works quietly, stopping now and then to consult a scroll copied from the writings of Herophilus, who once dissected human bodies to understand the patterns of veins and nerves. A woman stands nearby, reading aloud to her son from a piece of parchment. Her tone is steady, her Greek precise. She traces the letters with her fingertip as he repeats them. Alexandria is a city of many tongues, yet tonight every word seems to belong to learning. You pass a stone bench under a trellis of vines. Two translators sit there side by side. One is from Athens, the other from Judea. They speak softly, comparing phrases in Hebrew and Greek, searching for meanings that survive the journey between languages. The smell of the sea reaches even here, faint and constant. From distant alleys comes the sound of pottery being stacked after glazing. Some of the city's artisans live near the scholars, supplying their lamps, styluses, and ink jars. No line separates the trades of the hand and the trades of the mind. At the far end of the quarter rises a small observatory built on a terrace of white limestone. You climb its steps and find an astronomer marking notches on a wooden tablet. He notes the time when certain stars rise above the horizon and disappear again. Bronze instruments hang from pegs along the wall, polished and simple. He greets you briefly and then returns to his work. He points to a bright cluster in the east and says that sailors from Rhodes navigate by it. He explains that all things in the sky move in patterns that repeat, yet never perfectly. You watch him mark the moment of a star's appearance and realize that the library is not only inside its walls, but spread across the entire city, written in sky and water alike. Leaving the terrace, you descend into a lane lined with small gardens. A few vines climb the plastered walls, and the scent of night-blooming flowers hides the smell of parchment and oil. Through an open window, you hear someone reciting lines from Euripides. Another voice answers with a translation into Egyptian. The cadence feels like waves meeting the shore, not poetic, just natural. You pass a courtyard where a sculptor chips at a block of marble. By day he carves statues for the temples, but at night he practices anatomy for the physicians who study nearby. A half-finished figure lies on its side, the muscles rendered with careful realism. Beside it stands a tablet, covered in notes about proportion. Everywhere you look, small lamps reveal the quiet industry of minds. The city's power has never depended on armies, but on the patience of people who measure, copy, and think. Here, learning is not ceremony, but habit, as ordinary as bread and water. It fills the silence the way air fills lungs, unseen but essential. In a shaded arcade near the southern wall, you find a group gathered around a storyteller. He wears the plain clothes of a merchant and holds no scroll. His stories are spoken, not written, passed from listener to listener. He tells a tale of a sailor who found a pearl at the bottom of the Nile and traded it for a book of poetry instead of gold. The crowd listens with half smiles, their faces lit by one hanging lamp. When he finishes, no one claps. They simply nod, as if the story has reminded them of something already known. In this city, even fiction is treated as a kind of knowledge. At the end of the quarter, the street opens into a colonnade that leads back toward the library. You turn once to look behind you. The houses stand quiet, their courtyards glowing faintly with light. The sounds of writing and speech have faded into the night, leaving only the impression of a city still awake within itself. A few scholars cross the street, carrying tablets under their arms. Their robes sway with the movement, pale against the dark. They walk toward the library, where the lamps are never entirely extinguished. The quarter returns to silence as they disappear through the arches. You stand there for a moment, not as a visitor, but as part of the scene. Another figure moving through the same endless pursuit of understanding. The walls, the tools, the scrolls, and even the sky seem to share the same purpose: to keep light where darkness once was. Then you turn back toward the heart of the city, where the harbor waits beneath the Pharos beam, and begin to walk. The streets widen as you approach the coast. The slope leads down toward the great harbor, where the city meets the sea in a half-circle of quays and breakwaters. Stone warehouses line the shore, their doors marked with the names of merchant families in painted Greek letters. The smell of salt, tar, and grain hangs in the air, a mixture as old as trade itself. The sound of the harbor replaces the quiet of the scholars' quarter. Chains creak, ropes tighten, and wooden hulls knock gently against the piers. A few sailors still work under torchlight, their shadows long against the water. Others rest beside their ships, eating olives from small clay bowls and speaking in low voices. Beyond the masts rises the island of Pharos. It is linked to the mainland by the Heptastadion, that vast stone causeway built generations ago. At its far end stands the lighthouse, taller than any monument in the known world. It is said to reach over 100 meters into the air, built of limestone blocks that catch the moonlight like polished bone. You cross the bridge toward it. The water on either side is alive with faint reflections of the city. Fishing boats drift between larger vessels from Cyprus and Crete. You hear fragments of conversation in many languages, for this harbor belongs to all who can read the winds. Halfway across the causeway, the city appears behind you as a map of light. The palace quarter glimmers faintly, and the library's roof shines pale in the distance. Ahead, the lighthouse flame turns within its mirrored chamber, the light sweeping slowly over the sea. Each rotation casts a different part of the world into brief, brilliant clarity. At the base of the tower, a long ramp curves upward. Stone reliefs decorate the walls, showing ships guided safely to shore. Two guards nod as you pass, their armor catching sparks from a nearby brazier. The sound of waves striking the foundation resonates deep within the stone. Inside the tower, the air smells of smoke and salt. A spiral staircase climbs through its core, wide enough for men and donkeys to carry fuel upward. The steps are worn smooth by years of passage. You follow them until you reach an opening that looks out over the harbor. From here, you can see the full design of the port. To harbors curve on either side of the causeway. To the east lies the Royal Harbor, reserved for official ships and guarded quays. To the west is the Unastos, the safe haven for merchants and fishermen. Even at this hour, the harbor breathes with life. A ship from Rhodes unloads amphorae of oil. Another from Cyrene takes on rolls of papyrus bound for Athens. Dockworkers move steadily, speaking only when necessary. The city's wealth flows through this place, but so does its knowledge. Every vessel that docks is searched by scribes who copy or record the writings carried within. No text enters Alexandria without leaving behind a trace of itself. It is said that the library's shelves hold the reflections of every sea that touches these docks. You continue upward until you reach the second platform. From here, the wind is strong and cold, carrying spray from the waves below. You look north and see only darkness where the sea meets the sky. Somewhere out there lies the island of Cyprus, and beyond that, the vast uncertainty of open water. A keeper tends the fire above you. He adds resinous wood to keep the flame bright and steady. The mirrors behind it are made of polished bronze, angled to send light far into the night. Each mirror is cleaned carefully at dawn, for even soot could dull their reach. He tells you that sailors use the beam to measure distance. When they see it flash twice, they know they are within a day's sail of Alexandria. He also says that sometimes, in the mist, the light bends and touches places farther than the eye can follow. No one is certain how far the lighthouse truly shines. The structure itself feels alive. The stone hums faintly from the wind and the motion of the sea beneath it. The keeper listens for changes in that sound, for cracks or echoes that warn of weakness. He says the tower must be treated like a living creature, cared for or it will fail. From the highest platform, you can see the Mediterranean spread endlessly below. The water catches the moonlight in broken shards. Each shard looks like a separate world floating on the surface. Ships move across them like thoughts crossing from one mind to another. Far below, a torch signals from the quay. A new ship has arrived from Rhodes carrying scrolls and letters. Its sails are furled and its hull slides quietly toward the dock. The harbor absorbs it without sound, as if it has always belonged here. You stay on the ramp for a while, watching the light turn. The flame behind the mirrors flares and settles, repeating the same slow motion that it has kept for years. The keeper replaces the wood and wipes his hands on his robe. He says the lighthouse will stand as long as the city believes in its own reflection. When you descend, the wind softens. At the base, fishermen mend their nets beside the water. They hum old river songs that traveled north from the Nile. Their small fires flicker on the stones, less bright than the great flame above, but just as steady. The tide begins to rise, brushing against the breakwater. The harbor smells sharper now, full of salt and seaweed. A gull glides low over the water and vanishes into the dark. You turn back toward the city, following the glow that lies beyond the causeway. The light of the Pharos follows you as you walk. It flashes against the buildings, touching walls, ships, and rooftops. Each pulse feels deliberate, as if the tower is keeping watch not just for sailors, but for the city itself. Behind you, the flame burns on, patient and unbroken. The road from the harbor curves back toward the royal quarter. Torches line the way, each flame steady behind a glass shield. The noise of the docks fades, replaced by the hush of an enclosed city where walls protect silence. Ahead lies the entrance to the gardens, a space kept not for wealth, but for calm thought. Stone lions guard the gate. Their surfaces are worn smooth by generations of hands that touched them for luck. You pass between them and find yourself surrounded by trees. Their branches form a roof that filters the moonlight into shifting patches across the ground. Paths of crushed limestone wind among fountains and pools. The air carries the scent of myrtle and laurel. The fountains are fed by channels from the Nile, carried here through underground conduits. Water moves through the gardens as gently as air through lungs. Marble benches line the paths. On one of them sits a group of students, their cloaks folded neatly beside them. A teacher speaks to them about the harmony of the spheres. His voice is low, almost conversational, but every student listens without interruption. He traces a pattern on the ground with a reed. He speaks of numbers as the structure behind everything that breathes and moves. He says that music and geometry are the same language spoken at different speeds. The students nod, not as followers, but as people trying to see what he sees. Farther on, a young woman writes under a tree. A lamp rests on the stone beside her, its light steady. She writes lines of philosophy mixed with observation of the night sky. Her name is Hypatia, a mathematician's daughter who studies at the library when it is open to her. She pauses to adjust her tablet and looks up at the sky. Her expression is calm, more curious than dreamy. She notes the thin clouds drifting across the moon and makes a mark beside a calculation. Every observation is a small step toward order in a world that rarely keeps still. You walk past a row of statues that stand beside a reflecting pool. Each figure represents a muse, carved with their instruments and scrolls. Their reflections tremble slightly in the moving water. A small bird lands on the shoulder of one statue and drinks from a crack filled with rain. To your left, olive trees grow in a straight line toward a low wall. Beyond that wall lies the palace complex, its windows dark now that the royal family sleeps. The gardens were once part of that palace, built for queens who studied medicine and mathematics beside the men they advised. Now the scholars use it as an outdoor hall, a place where knowledge breathes more freely. In a corner near the wall stands a sundial mounted on a marble plinth. It no longer measures time tonight, but its markings still catch the silver of the moon. A small plaque records the name of the astronomer who designed it, a gift to the library decades earlier. The shadow that falls across it is not from the gnomon, but from a tree that has grown taller than anyone planned. You sit on a nearby bench. From here you can hear the distant sound of water spilling into a basin. The city around the garden is almost silent, its energy held in check until morning. A breeze stirs the leaves, scattering a faint rain of petals across the path. A philosopher passes carrying a rolled papyrus. He nods in greeting and stops to light his lamp from yours. He says he is studying Aristotle's ideas on motion and plans to compare them with new observations of falling objects. He thanks you for the flame and disappears into another path lined with cypress. You stand and walk toward the central fountain. Its rim is carved with symbols of the zodiac. Fish glide lazily beneath the water's surface, their scales glinting when the moon breaks through the leaves. The air smells faintly of mint and damp stones. In one corner of the garden, a colonnade shelters marble busts of famous thinkers. Each one faces inward as if in quiet debate. Someone has placed small lamps at their bases. Their light climbs the faces slowly, tracing features worn but expressive. A pair of musicians sits nearby, one with a lyre and one with a reed flute. They practice quietly, keeping their melody simple. It is neither song nor prayer, only a sequence of tones repeated until it feels right. Their music does not fill the garden, it joins it. A servant passes, carrying a tray of bread and wine for the late working scholars. He moves with practiced balance, avoiding the lamps and scrolls left on the ground. He sets the tray beside the fountain and retreats without a word. Two students take the food and begin to discuss something written on a scrap of parchment. Every corner of the garden holds movement, but none of it disturbs the stillness. You realize that this is what the library serves, not the storing of knowledge, but the creation of space where it can exist. The scholar's words, the sound of water, the rustle of trees, all belong to the same design. It is a harmony made visible. When you leave, the path leads through an arch of stone covered with climbing ivy. Beyond it, the street descends toward the temple of Serapis. Behind you, the garden remains lit by a few quiet lamps. Their reflections ripple across the fountains like fragments of moonlight left behind. The street climbs gradually toward the hill where the temple stands. The stones underfoot change from pale limestone to darker basalt. At intervals, torches mark the ascent, their flames enclosed in metal cages to guard against the wind. From the height above, you can already see the columns of the Serapeum against the sky. When you reach the top, the city spreads out below you like a chart. The harbor lights flicker along the curve of the coast, and beyond them the Pharos beam turns slowly across the sea. From this elevation, Alexandria appears deliberate, a pattern laid out by geometry rather than chance. The temple sits at its center of balance, not by design, but by gravity of meaning. The entrance court is broad and paved with red granite. 2 rows of columns frame the space, each topped with capitals carved in a hybrid style that joins Greek volutes with Egyptian lotus petals. Between them stand bronze statues of the sacred bull Apis, their flanks polished smooth by generations of pilgrims. Incense burns in low stone bowls, the smoke rising straight in the still air. You move forward through the portico. The walls bear inscriptions in both Greek and Demotic Egyptian. Some are hymns, others are dedications from scholars who came to study and left their gratitude carved into the stone. Each line is a bridge between languages, proof that ideas here were not conquered but merged. The inner court opens before you, quiet except for the echo of water dripping from a hidden source. The ceiling above is painted with stars. Their arrangement mirrors the sky over Egypt on the night the temple was founded. A single shaft of moonlight falls through an opening high above and lands on the statue of Serapis himself. The god's form unites 2 worlds. He wears the beard and robes of a Greek philosopher, yet on his head rests a basket, the symbol of Egyptian fertility and abundance. In one hand he holds a scepter, in the other a serpent winding upward. The sculptor gave him eyes that seem to follow every visitor who enters, A group of priests tends the lamps that surround the statue. Their robes are white linen edged in blue. They move methodically, replacing oil, trimming wicks, and murmuring short invocations. The smell of myrrh and cedar fills the chamber, dense but not heavy. One of the priests gestures toward a side passage that leads downward. You follow him into the cooler air below. The steps descend into a crypt where smaller shrines hold offerings left by travelers. Bronze coins, carved amulets, and small jars of honey line the shelves. He explains that the chamber once stored scrolls copied from the library above. Some believe this collection was created to protect knowledge in times of unrest. Others say it existed for theological works that blended philosophy and faith. Whatever its purpose, the shelves now stand mostly empty, the few remaining rolls sealed in clay jars against damp air. In the far corner, a low relief depicts a procession carrying scrolls up from the harbor. The figures are carved in the flat Egyptian style, but arranged along a Greek perspective. Their faces are expressionless, yet the movement feels precise, almost mathematical. It is the meeting of two civilizations in one line of stones. You ascend again to the main hall. The air grows warmer and carries the rhythm of quiet chanting. A small congregation kneels before the statue. They are citizens, scholars, and merchants alike, each offering a small coin or a simple prayer. A philosopher you recognize from the gardens stands apart near a column. He speaks softly to a priest about the unity of the divine and the rational. Their dialogue has the tone of debate rather than devotion. Here, argument itself is treated as an act of reverence. At the far end of the hall, an open door leads to a terrace. From it, you can see the rooftops of the city stretching toward the sea. The light of the moon glints off hundreds of small lamps. Each could be a home, a study, or a shrine. The priest joins you at the balustrade. He says the temple serves as a mirror for the city below. As long as its flame is kept, knowledge will not vanish, only change form. He does not sound hopeful or fearful, only certain. Behind you, the chants fade into the rustle of linen robes. The temple breathes with the same restraint as the scholar's quarter, measured and aware of its weight. On the walls, faint images of sacred animals blend into patterns of geometry. The two languages of Alexandria continue their conversation even in silence. As you step back into the courtyard, the first light of dawn edges the horizon over the sea. The torches begin to fade in the growing grey. The priests close the great bronze doors, their hinges groaning once before settling into stillness. The Serapeum holds its secrets for another day. You descend the hill slowly. Below, the streets begin to stir as merchants prepare their stalls. The smell of baking bread replaces the scent of incense. Behind you, the temple's outline stands against the pale sky, half Greek, half Egyptian, and wholly Alexandrian. Morning breaks slowly over the western side of the city. The air smells of clay, smoke, and bread. You follow a street that slopes downward from the Serapeum into a district built for work rather than ceremony. The walls here are rough plaster instead of marble, and the streets are narrow enough that neighbors can speak from window to window. The first sound comes from the potters. Their kilns stand close to the open courtyards, built from clay bricks that glow faintly from the heat inside. A man shapes a jar on a wheel turned by an assistant's foot. The vessel grows from a lump of earth into perfect symmetry under his steady hands. Stacks of finished pottery line the walls, each piece marked with a small symbol indicating its maker. Most will hold oil or grain, but some are destined for the library vessels used to store the inks and pigments for the scribes. The potter's wife inspects them one by one, tapping the rims lightly to test their soundness. Her ear is trained to hear cracks that the eye cannot see. Farther along, the glass blowers begin their work. Furnaces roar behind open arches, their light spilling across the street. Inside, long iron pipes gleam in the fire. A worker gathers molten glass on the end of one and turns it carefully, shaping it into a sphere with a slow exhalation. The glow of the furnaces colors the air orange. Each piece of glass begins as a breath, expanded and cooled into clarity. When the bubbles are cut from the pipe, they are carried to a shelf and left to harden in the morning air. These will become the small vessels used in apothecaries and the larger ones that hold water for the astronomers. Across the lane, a workshop grinds stones for pigments. Mallets strike against granite, and clouds of colored dust drift upward. A man mixes crushed malachite with oil to make green paint, while another grinds cinnabar to deep red. A boy carries a tray of small jars labeled in Greek, each holding a different shade used for maps and manuscripts. The scent of glue and drying plaster comes from the next courtyard. Here, mosaic workers piece together fragments of glass and stone. Their hands move with the same precision as the mathematicians who designed the patterns. Each tile is laid with tweezers and pressed into a thin layer of lime. A young woman arranges a border of blue and gold around the figure of a ship. The ship's sails catch light from the window, gleaming as if real wind filled them. When finished, the mosaic will decorate the floor of a scholar's study near the harbor. It will remind him that knowledge, like sailing, depends on balance between direction and chance. The smell of parchment leads you to the papyrus makers. Their courtyard is filled with long tables where thin strips of reed lie in rows. Each strip is dampened with Nile water and pressed crosswise against another. Wooden rollers flatten the layers until they fuse into a single sheet. The sheets are dried in the sun, trimmed, and joined edge to edge to form long rolls. Scribes will later cut them again to suit their needs. A worker inspects each surface with care, looking for imperfections that might catch the pen. A single flaw can distort a line of writing and ruin hours of work. In a smaller workshop nearby, an ink maker stirs a mixture of soot, gum, and water in a bronze bowl. He tests the consistency with a reed, adjusting the texture until it flows smoothly. He explains that the best soot comes from burnt oil rather than wood. The formula is simple, but only constant attention keeps it from spoiling in the heat. Beyond him, a craftsman shapes styluses from reeds cut near the Nile Delta. He trims each tip with a small knife, testing its flexibility against his thumb. When satisfied, he sets it aside in bundles tied with string. These tools will travel to the library where they will copy histories that may one day outlast the men who made them. At the end of the street, the scent of baking draws you closer. A communal oven operates here for the entire quarter. Women arrive with baskets of dough covered in cloth, waiting their turn to slide them into the wide clay mouth. The bread emerges with crusts blistered and golden. The baker divides the loaves by household marks cut into their tops before baking. Each family's sign is distinct, a letter, a symbol, or a simple line. Coins exchange hands quickly, though many pay in trade rather than money. The smell of fresh bread drifts down the lane and mixes with the smoke of the furnaces. Children chase one another between the workshops. They carry scraps of clay and broken glass, treating them as treasures. An old man sits against a wall, carving small wooden toys from discarded handles. Even play here comes from what labor leaves behind. As the sun rises higher, the quarter brightens with reflected light from the sea. The roofs of the workshops shimmer with it. The potters open their doors wider to let in air, and the glass blowers rest while their furnaces settle. Each craft pauses just long enough to appreciate what has been made before beginning again. In this district, creation is constant and visible. The scholars write about the motion of stars and the balance of elements, but the artisans turn those ideas into matter. Every scroll in the library owes its shape and color to these hands. Without them, the city's intellect would have no body. When you turn back toward the main street, the hum of work continues behind you. Hammer strikes blend with the voices of merchants calling prices. Carts loaded with jars and tools head toward the central market. The city is awake, and knowledge moves now through every trade that sustains it. The sun has not yet risen, but the light has changed. It is no longer silver. The air carries a dull copper tint that belongs neither to night nor day. Seabirds turn restlessly above the harbor, crying once before vanishing toward the west. You cross the square that joins the artisans' quarter to the central market. Vendors stand beside their carts, but no one opens for business. A cart overturned during the night lies where it fell, its wheel half buried in dust. Even the smell of bread seems thinner, as if the ovens burned too fast. From the harbor comes a sound that is not the sea. It is a low thud that repeats with no pattern. Workers glance toward it and then continue stacking amphorae, pretending not to hear. When you follow the direction of their eyes, you see smoke rising behind the distant masts. Rumor spreads faster than wind. Someone says Roman soldiers have landed again on the western quay. Someone else swears it is only a warehouse fire. No one knows which voice to believe, but everyone keeps moving with unnatural calm. The causeway to Pharos is visible from here. The great lighthouse still turns, but the smoke drifts across its beam, breaking it into pieces. Small boats pull away from the docks loaded with scrolls, jars, and whatever else can be carried. The sea is shallow near the causeway, and each boats or catches the bottom with a scraping sound. You walk toward the royal quarter. The air grows heavier with smoke. A horse stands unattended outside a closed gate, its reins looped through a bronze ring. The streets that once smelled of ink and perfume now smell of burning resin and oil. Two boys run past carrying baskets of bread. They do not look back. A woman drags a chest through a doorway and calls for help, but no one answers. Her voice echoes down the colonnade and disappears into the murk. Near the library, the wind shifts. Ash drifts like slow rain through the portico. The scribes who work through the night step outside, holding cloth over their faces. They look upward, uncertain whether the smoke comes from their own roof or from the harbor below. You meet one of them near the steps. He says the soldiers are burning ships to block the channel and the wind has turned toward the city. He holds a stack of scrolls tied with string. His hands shake, but his movements remain deliberate. Inside, the main hall glows with a dim orange light from the reflection of the fire outside. The air tastes of soot. Scholars move quickly, gathering what they can. Some tie bundles of papyrus, others roll sealed jars of manuscripts toward the courtyard. A single cat darts between the shelves and disappears behind a pillar. Someone calls for water, but there is none near enough to matter. The walls begin to darken, not from flame, but from heat carried on the wind. The lamps flicker as if confused by the competing lights of fire and dawn. You help a young assistant push a cart piled with scrolls toward the garden. The papyrus rustles softly, a sound that reminds you of waves. Outside, the garden still stands untouched. The pool reflects the first pale stripe of morning above the smoke. From the upper terraces, the view is obscured. The harbor burns in sections like a chain of torches moving across the water. The Pharos beam still turns, but its light wavers each time smoke passes between mirror and flame. The sound of the fire is steady, like distant surf. In the garden, the philosophers argue about what to save. One insists on the mathematical texts. Another gathers works on medicine. A third walks in circles, unable to choose. No one speaks of panic, but it hangs in the air. The order that once defined the city has loosened. Students run with water jars that spill before they reach the doors. The marble underfoot begins to sweat with heat. Beyond the library's walls, citizens fill the streets. Some carry household gods in their arms. Others lead children toward the city gates. The sound of the crowd replaces the silence of scholarship. Alexandria, built on reason and trade, now moves like any other city facing fire. The smoke reaches higher, turning the morning sun a flat disk of copper. Ash falls over the gardens and clings to the olive leaves. The scholars work until their voices fade, until the weight of air makes breathing a task. When the first flame reaches the outer wall, no one shouts. The old librarian stands near the doorway, his face lit from below. He watches the fire with an expression neither of horror nor disbelief. He says quietly that the wind decides what knowledge survives, not men. Then he turns and walks back inside, carrying nothing. You remain in the courtyard. Around you, scrolls lie scattered where they fell, their cords burned through. The water in the pool ripples from the pressure of air heated above it. Reflections of flame move across the marble statues like ghostly dancers. From the city below comes a deep roar as the warehouse roofs collapse. Sparks rise in waves, floating toward the temple hill. The Pharos beam stops turning. The mirrors have cracked from the heat. You understand then that the city's night has ended. The hour before dawn has become something else entirely. The scholars have disappeared into the smoke, each carrying what little they could hold. The library stands for a few moments longer before its colors blend with the fire outside. You step backward until you feel the wall behind you. Above the rooftops, the light grows too bright to look at directly. Somewhere beyond the noise, the sea continues to move as it always has. For the first time since the city's founding, Alexandria no longer knows itself. When morning finally comes, the city lies beneath a thin grey haze. Smoke drifts upward in slow, uneven ribbons that lose themselves in the sky. The sea has turned dull green, its surface coated with ash that moves like silt. A silence holds between each distant crash of falling stone. You stand on the steps of the library. The portico is blackened, and the bronze doors are streaked with soot. Inside, the air is heavy with the scent of wet ash and ink. What remains of the scrolls lies in drifts across the floor, curled like the shells of burned leaves. Light enters through gaps in the roof where the marble cracked. Dust floats through it, catching pale colors as it turns. Each particle seems to carry a fragment of the knowledge that once filled this hall. Now the only sound is the slow crumble of plaster from the ceiling. You walk between the fallen shelves. Some scrolls survived in the lower rooms, protected by stone walls and narrow vents. Their cords are scorched but still intact. A scribe kneels nearby, brushing soot from the edges and laying them gently on a dry plank. Outside, people move carefully among the ruins. A group of fishermen carry buckets of water from the harbor, pouring it onto the smoldering walls. Their clothes are stiff with salt, their faces blank with exhaustion. They work not from hope, but from habit, as if motion itself can steady the world. Beyond the library, the streets shimmer with heat that rises from the ground. Walls have collapsed in the artisans' quarter, revealing shelves of broken glass and half-baked pottery. The smell of burnt oil lingers in every doorway. Dogs wander through the rubble, stepping lightly over charred fragments of papyrus blown from the port. The palace quarter has fared no better. Its courtyards stand empty, except for fragments of statues and scattered coins that no one stops to collect. Columns lean at odd angles, their bases cracked by heat. A section of roof has fallen across a mosaic of the Nile, splitting it cleanly in two. At the harbor, the remains of ships drift against the breakwater. Their masts point skyward like stripped trees. Men wade into the shallows to salvage rope and wood. Each plank carries a thin film of ash that stains their hands black. The pharaoh still stands, though its mirrors are shattered. Smoke stains reach halfway up the tower. From the upper ramparts, the city looks both familiar and hollow. The streets retain their pattern, but the pattern no longer holds meaning. A Roman patrol passes below, the soldiers' armor reflecting the faint sunlight. They walk without speaking, their boots muffled by ash. One stops to stare at the ruins of the library, then moves on. Their presence feels smaller than the destruction around them. By midday, the wind turns eastward, clearing the air. From the harbor wall, you can see the desert beyond the lake, pale and unmoved. Camels move along the far road, their shadows long and detached. The world beyond the city continues, indifferent to the loss of one night's memory. You return to the hill of the Serapeum. The temple still stands, its facade stained but intact. Priests sweep ash from the steps with palm fronds. They move with deliberate care, as if each stroke might restore balance to the air. Inside, the statue of Serapis remains untouched. The bronze lamps are dark, their oil spent. A single shaft of sunlight enters from the roof, falling across the god's face. The eyes carved from obsidian reflect the light but give nothing back. A scholar from the gardens arrives carrying a bundle of rescued scrolls. He kneels before the statue and sets them down without ceremony. The priest nods once and covers them with a cloth. No one says the word saved. It feels too large for the moment. From the terrace, you look down on the city. The haze thins until the horizon appears again. Alexandria still stands, though smaller, quieter, altered. The pattern of its streets remains, but the pulse that once ran through them has slowed. In the gardens below, smoke stains the fountains and marble benches. The olive trees are black at the base, green at their tips. A few scholars have returned, setting up temporary tables under the remaining arches. They write lists of what has been lost and what still exists. Their handwriting is small and deliberate. Each entry is an act of rebuilding, not the city itself, but its outline in memory. One man writes that a single copy of Euclid's work was found intact. Another notes that a fragment of Hesiod survived. As the afternoon deepens, the noise of hammers begins again in the artisan's quarter. Someone is repairing a kiln. Children carry water in small jars to mix with new clay. Even among the ruins, creation resumes without announcement. The wind shifts once more, carrying the smell of salt instead of smoke. The sea has already swallowed the last of the burning ships. Gulls return to the quays and settle on the blackened beams. Their cries are sharp and ordinary, as if the world has decided to continue. You sit on the low wall overlooking the water. The sun moves behind a thin cloud, turning its reflection pale gold. Somewhere behind you, a page turns. Someone is writing again. When the first evening star appears, it is faint but visible. The city glows weakly beneath it, tired yet whole. The library is gone, but the idea of it remains, scattered in every mind that once entered its halls. No flame reaches that far. You rise and walk toward the shore. The stones are still warm, but the air is cooler now. A single ship waits at anchor beyond the breakwater, its sail patched and ready. It will leave at dawn, carrying letters, lists, and fragments of thought, the first survivors of Alexandria's night. At the edge of the quay, the water laps quietly against the stone. Each ripple catches the last light of the sun before fading into shadow. The reflection of the pharos trembles but does not break. For a moment, the city seems to breathe again, and then evening settles fully. The smoke drifts away toward the open sea. The marble cools, and Alexandria sleeps.